Welcome, everyone, to Rock M Radio. This is the beginning of a brand new episode of Dive Cuts. It's season 8 already. We're here to talk about your Missouri basketball Tigers, the 14th ranked in the AP poll Missouri basketball Tigers, coming off a big win over Mississippi State Bulldogs. I am your host, Sam Stelling. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see me on your left. Please take a moment to hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Help us grow this thing a bit. With me, as always, a little under the weather, but soldiering through, Mr. Matt Harris. Matt, how are you?
I'm well. Thankful for the tea that I'm currently sipping right now, and for whatever just bench researcher came up with Sunufei. That person is a patron saint. But Missouri basketball is enough to lift your spirits after this weekend. So that's a good thing right now, aside from my nasal passages being slightly clogged.
Yeah, I think the swing in temperatures is taking its effect on me as well. And we have, Allie and I painted the living room yesterday. So I don't know if I'm quite under the weather, but we'll just say I'm not feeling my best. So we're gonna soldier through this. I do think that we're gonna try to rip through this stuff and be a little more on point than Matt and I have been in the past. I know we can get wordy. So we're gonna talk about this Mississippi State game. It went well.
It did.
I don't know if everybody has read. I can't remember if I put it into study hall or if it was in the pour over piece. I think it was study hall. Only 24 other teams have ever had such convincing wins in the history of college basketball on the road against an AP ranked opponent. And the number of times that it's happened as an underdog, and I don't really know the odds of those, but a team that was ranked lower. It's one thing if second ranked Duke, goes in and beats, 24th ranked Clemson. I'm just pulling I don't know if that's actually a game that happened, but that's different than, what was Missouri last week? 20th, going on the road and beating 16th ranked Mississippi State. Those don't happen very often. It's happened 11 times in the history of college basketball where a lower ranked team, lower ranked or not ranked, has beaten somebody by 27 points or more. It is an incredible event what happened on Wednesday. Missouri.
Saturday.
What did I say?
You said Wednesday. You mixed your days up.
Oh, I'm already yeah. But really, this doesn't happen. This is not something that happens to college basketball teams, especially ranked teams, especially in their own gym. And Missouri did things to Mississippi State, and I'll be honest, I thought going into this they had a chance to win. I really did. I know that there's a lot of people that were skeptical going into Starkville, all the kind of stuff. The way that Missouri's been playing, if they could just make some shots, I thought they would be able to be in and potentially win the game. I've never been super high on Mississippi State. I thought that some of their offensive numbers were so because they just don't have a whole lot of options after Josh Hubbard. So I really, really believe that this was a game that Missouri could get. I'm not going to BS here. There was no way I thought they were going to do what they did. That was incredible to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the matchup could tilt their way. And Missouri's been playing about 6 to 8 points above forecasted margins against high majors. So I thought, okay, they're a 6-point road dog. They've been playing about that much better, in games against ranked teams, in terms of performance. So I thought, okay, they could get it to a toss-up. And then you start looking at, the things that are going to flip it, and it's, okay, can they shoot the ball well enough to put Mississippi State in a position where Josh Hubbard alone can't carry them over the finish line? And they shot the ball well. They made 8 more threes than they probably needed to make to win. But even if they had only hit 8 threes in this game, or like 9 threes, they still would have won, by 15 points, 15 or 18 points. It was that big of a drubbing that even if you take the shooting variance out on the day, they still just mollywopped them. And I think, you put it in study hall and Watkins looked at it and I looked at it. And if you just looked at the box score itself, and I think the reason why Chris James was almost sort of like despondent afterwards was he couldn't go in the locker room and tell his guys, like, hey, we played great and they just shot the hell out of the ball. Missouri limited them to like 30 or 35% shooting at the rim. That held up on film. Their guards, like Tony Perkins and Tamar Bates, were fantastic, guarding rim attempts. Mark Mitchell was making great rotations low to help block shots. Josh Gray was walling up against bigs. They're being physical around the rim with a team that absolutely makes a living there. They did a fantastic job at, I think in ball screens at least, bothering Josh Hubbard. They did a great job. They had a great scout there. They did a great job with being, active in the zone and creating deflections. They just did a fantastic job defensively from a fundamental standpoint of executing a scout. And the shooting was there for sure. And I think the 2-point shooting got better in the second half. And I tend to think that's because Missouri in the first half played so well defensively outside of a stretch, where Mississippi State kind of narrowed it down a little bit, that once State got down 14 at half and they didn't cut into the lead out of the locker room, I think they were done with 13 minutes left. Chris James was subbing in deep bench guys at like the 13:30 mark.
Yeah.
Missouri, if you looked at Evan Maya's garbage time, he had it starting at around the under 12. Like, this was a game where I thought Missouri broke him in the first 28 minutes. And it wasn't, and again, I think a lot of it was on the defensive end. Josh Hubbard shook free when Missouri lost him on some ball screen stuff or when he was setting screens. But otherwise, it was really hard for them just to get what they wanted. And when they got to the rim, they weren't getting easy looks. And, I think there's a part of State that knew once Missouri started hitting shots that they weren't going to be able to stay in this ball game. Mississippi State's a team that has a wide delta between what they shoot and what they allow you to shoot. And if you shoot above that, if you shoot better than 35%, you can put them in a hole. And Missouri shot damn near 50% from three. So the math just tilted so quickly on State. They weren't able to like limp through at the rim that, in the last 12, I think they just were trying to do damage control and keep it under 30. It was a complete, just from a fundamental perspective, things you want to see in the box score and on the screen, like the boring, bland stuff that nobody really pays attention to. Missouri just whipped them in every category. It was a complete braining in that sense. So I think that's what made it so impressive was you couldn't just say, oh man, Missouri, they're questionable, but they shot the hell out of the ball. It was as complete a win as I've seen this team put together in their den skates. And that's saying something considering how in fuego they could get in year one under him too.
Yeah, I think the thing that really stood out for me was how they kind of turned the the heat up defensively and really you look at it and Hubbard Hubbard got his points. Nobody else like did anything. Like I think you can live with Josh Hubbard getting 24 if you can do what they did with Claudel Harris and Cam Matthews and Melendez, guys that when State is going well, those guys are helping them out offensively. And I mean, those three combined for 15 points. Nwoko only had 2. Like this is like as complete of a defensive performance, as they've had this year. And when and Dennis Gates is one of these, like, he kind of talks about like, all right, like, what are we, where are we going? We're gonna, I still think this, team can get better and better and better. And in some ways, like he's right, because if they can be this good defensively, they can consistently knock down shots like that, and you basically did all that, and Anthony Robinson was not good
Not
at
good.
all. Like he was pretty bad. And I did say in study hall, like I really appreciated, like one of the things that I do like about Gates is he understands the psychological aspect, and you did see good minutes from Ant in the second half. Like his little 5 minute stretch there
Yeah.
wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better to just sort of get him. He got like an assist or two, and and a layup to sort of get him feeling more like himself. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
I mean, like Jacob Cruz shot well, but he's still, like 3 of 7 is a solid night for a good shooter. Um, like Caleb Grill. I even said this much because I really feel like we haven't talked a whole lot about Caleb Grill, and I like coming in. We all knew that he could be a streaky shooter. Uh, I don't know if this staff and whatever, like they have unlocked something with Grill um that has just made him this much different. Like I was watching, he did a storytellers thing with Mizzou Athletics, and he was basically saying like one of his goals in the season was to shoot 50% from three. He's almost there, and that's an absurd number to shoot from three, and he's shot 100 threes. And I actually think like his percentage would be higher if he could reduce the amount of some kind of questionable threes that he's been forced to take kind of late in shot clock. And um there, I think there was several against Texas. So I'm like, God, you really probably didn't need to shoot that, but he's just been incredible.
Yeah, I think I went through and I watched, like, I've gotten through the first half of the rewatch that I usually do after every game. And, like, there's something he makes where it's just like they're resetting, they're reversing the ball to a side of the floor. Like, there's no action. Like, we ran a pick and roll. Mississippi State switched it. All right, we got to switch, we got to change sides of the floor and run secondary action. And Grill just gets it top of the key and he'll just go, oh, screw it, and pulled. Like, there's no action. Like, in the notes, I'm like, ball reversal, bang. Like, there's
Yeah.
just, like, you just, like, sometimes you want to say, okay, what's good offense? What's great action? And then other times, just like, well, screw it, that guy just made a play. And that's what he did. I mean, on some of these threes that he's hit, it's just been somebody gives him some airspace. He's in rhythm. He's feeling okay, and he's just going to let it go. Now, there's always a regression to that. I think most guys I think it'll be hard for him to keep shooting at this clip all year, but what those threes tell me right now is that he's at least feeling in confidence and in rhythm. I think when he came back off the injury, there was not hesitation, but he wasn't quite just getting into his shot quite away. There's a little bit of a hitch knowing he would come off staggers or off zipper stuff. There's not now. If you're trailing him and you are letting him get 2 feet square to the rim, it's going up. And it's not even a hesitation. And the half court three that he hit, I mean, that was a late clock three that had to go up. People are like, what was he doing? I'm like, well, there was 4 seconds on the shot clock. So it was great.
There was 4 seconds on the shot clock. It was deep, but he was open. And it's a jump shot. Like this is one of the things that you realize it's deep, but it's a jump shot from there. Still, it's a deep jump shot. You're still able to.
Also, what was the alternative? What was the alternative he was going to have in that spot there? Like they couldn't run anything, so it's like, well, I'm feeling it. I'm open. Let's go with it. It's been ridiculous, and I think it's great for him. I think coming off, he had a really slow start as a junior year. Just as a graduate senior, he had gotten off to a slow start. He was just finding himself, and then broke his wrist. I think this year there was a little bit of that slow start again, and everyone's like, "Oh man, what's he gonna do?" And now, coming back off the neck injury, it took him a couple games, and now he's in rhythm and he's feeling it. And you wish you could chalk something up to scheme or skill development, but sometimes guys are just hitting shots, and you just got to chalk it up to guys making plays, and that's what he's doing right now. And it's marvelously entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
So if he wants to keep doing it, by all means, please keep it up.
I do like lots of made threes. It is a lot of fun, especially when it's your team that's making most of them. So Mizzou turns his attention to a pretty tough matchup here. Um, they're they're heading to Knoxville for a Wednesday night matchup against Tennessee. Vols are currently fourth in KenPom. They do have 4 league losses. They got shellacked by Florida. They lost a very narrow game in which I actually think that they should have won against Vanderbilt, or at least should have gone to overtime at the very least. Narrowly lost to Auburn, kind of let that one slip away. Uh, Lost to Kentucky, and then they played uh, they played Florida on Saturday without Zakai Ziegler and without Milicic.
Milicic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Milicic was out too. And they beat Florida by 20 points. That was all mostly in the second half. It was a pretty close game, pretty ugly game in the first half.
Yeah.
So that game started at 11 a.m. Central. So I've got to watch the first half and then flipped over to Missouri. But yeah, so Tennessee, again, great defensive team. Zakai Ziegler, rumored to be planning on playing against the Tigers, which is going to make them better. They did bitch slap Florida, but he is a guy that you want on the floor for for the Volunteers.
Yeah, this is a Rick Barnes team that we've come to know and well. It's a recent vintage. It absolutely strangles the life out of you defensively, and the margin, if it's going right, will be dependent on how competent they are offensively that day. This is probably his worst offensive team that he's had, at least in conference play in his time there. They are 12th in offensive efficiency during SEC play. If you click it's a lot. It ain't good. They do not shoot the ball well. They are almost Texas A&M like in just they are needing to subsist on rebounds and live ball turnovers. It's been brutal for them offensively. And realistically, the question is, can they get enough juice? Can they squeeze out enough juice offensively to get a win? They're going to guard, and you know that. But the real question here is, can you slow them enough offensively to really just, render that defense kind of pointless for them? And I think that's going to be the thing that is really telling in this game, because Missouri in SEC play is 5th for defensive efficiency. These are 2 top 5 defenses in the conference, 2 top 5 rebounding teams in the conference playing each other. Missouri's more competent offensively than Tennessee. That's the thing that I think is going to go under the radar here, is if you just look at how they've been playing over the last 10 games, Tennessee's 89th in the country for offensive efficiency. Missouri is 17th since SEC play began. Missouri, I think, has enough wiggle room on offense, more than people expect, to make this a really competitive game and steal this on the road, because Tennessee's going to need to absolutely play its best offensive game to I think, counteract what Missouri can do at times defensively. So I think that's going to be the subtle thing here, is people are like, can you score enough against Tennessee? And I think, well, can Tennessee score enough on Wednesday night? Even if you count for home court advantage, can they get enough out of their offense to offset a Missouri team that, as you mentioned earlier, is playing like a top 10 outfit since January 4? So I think that's kind of the more subtle shading to this game going into Wednesday, is Tennessee hasn't been good offensively, and Missouri has guarded well enough that this might be a pickup opportunity for the Tigers, more than some people expect.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see a lot of people picking Missouri, to be honest. Coming off the way that they played in Starkville, knowing that they beat Florida on Florida's floor, and knowing that they've been beating teams pretty soundly, since they left Auburn, in what is still like the best league in the country and potential in the history of KenPom, really. Like all of these things still exist. Like the SEC is still a great league. Um, so for Missouri to, kind of have that combination of things, like Tennessee absolutely 100% had to have that game against Florida. Like that was going to be
Needed
really,
it.
really important because I mean, they had lost 3 or 4,
Yeah.
lost 3 or 4, chance of basically losing 3 in a row, including back-to-back home games with a team like Missouri, like the way that the Tigers have been playing coming in, on that Wednesday night, like they had to beat that or to win that Florida game, and then to do so without Ziegler, and Milicic, like that was a really important win for them. Like I agree with you. I think this is a game that Missouri can go in and they can beat Tennessee. Dennis Gates has kind of had Rick's number. Like I
When
realized
they've been
things didn't go
healthy, when
great
they've been
last year,
healthy.
but yeah, like
Okay, but in that game last year, there was a slog for Tennessee for 30 minutes.
yeah,
And then Missouri
yeah.
didn't have enough juice left. It took Dalton Connect scoring 10 of 14 points in a run.
Mm-hmm.
You know who they don't have this year?
Dalton Connect.
Dalton Connect.
And
Like I think that's
Lanier is a nice player, but he is not an offensive weapon like Dalton Connect. Like
no
Dalton Connect was a go get us a bucket, Dalton, and then he could go get him a bucket.
for
Like
five
Lanier,
straight sessions.
yeah, like Lanier is much more of a guy who's gonna hunt shots off the screens, let you
Yeah.
get his feet set. If his feet are set and he's got some space, he's a good shooter. But you can crowd him, you can force him to put the ball on the deck. He's a lot worse shooting
Yeah.
the ball off the move than when he's just a catch and shoot opportunity. So like they don't really have a whole lot of offensive options, and you see that when you watch them and they you watch them against Auburn, and like they had Auburn just frustrated to hell in their own
Defensively.
building defensively, but there was nothing that Tennessee could do against Auburn's defense. Missouri statistically has been better defensively than Auburn since the start of conference play. So like realistically, like if they, and again, this all comes down to like they have to play well, they have to shoot well, but if they go in and do what they're capable of, like they could really, really limit Tennessee's offensive options.
The thing that you have to consider too is okay, they're going to put Jemai Mashak on probably Tamar Bates, and they're probably going to have Akpar crowd Mark Mitchell. Okay, so those are two guys that you can assign your two best defenders to take out of the box. Missouri can still beat Caleb Grill. They can still have Tony Perkins attack an early clock. You can still have Ant kind of try and give you something in some ball screens. There are alternate sources of offense that Missouri can stitch together if Mashak and Akpar are taking away their top two options. You need Lanier to score. Like Zakai it's absurd the amount of work he has to shoulder. He averages 13 points a game. And then I think he's like at 8 P&R passes per game. He's having to create so much offense for them and so much for other people that if Lanier is not giving them something, like if in most games Chaz Lanier is averaging 11 or 12 points, they need Jordan Gainey to give them. There's just not a lot of secondary offense for them if Lanier is not rolling. If Lanier and Gainey are locked in and engaged, Tennessee can be a problem because they've got just enough balance across the rotation. But if it's a night where Chaz isn't dialed in, things can get sideways for them in a hurry because it doesn't matter if Sakai's playing out of ball screens and getting downhill because he's kind of an average rim finisher. He's an undersized guard. When he gets it, if you stay attached to his hip,
He's 5'6".
yeah,
I think he's listed
he's
at
good.
5'7" or 5'8", but that seems generous.
He can shoot a little bit off relocation, but really they need Zakai to create and kick, and they need Lanier and Gainey to hit shots. If those guys aren't doing that, it gets really, really boggy for Tennessee really, really quickly. And even if they're limiting Missouri, I think could score 60 or 65 against them. They're nice when you wonder if Tennessee's going to get to 60 or 65 if Lanier and Gainey aren't getting stuff that they need to do. So I'm probably jinxing the hell out of this team, but I watched this team and we've watched Tennessee enough over the years to know kind of how this goes. with Rick is teams get into conference play where the scout's out on them and the offensive efficiency drops. And it becomes a question of, we know they're going to guard, but where are they going to get offensively? And I think Missouri, as you said earlier, when they've been at full strength under Dennis Gates, they've kind of had Tennessee's number. They've got a bigger and longer roster now. They've got more depth, and they're playing really well. So it's hard to win on the road in this league. It's hard to win at TBA, but I look at this matchup and I think there's a way for them. And how many times in the past did you have said that about going into Thompson Bowling against a Tennessee team?
What's the building called now? It's like Food City.
I don't. It's Food City Center. I don't know.
City Center.
It's Thompson Bowling. It will always be TBA to me.
It should never have changed. Like the fact that it's called something like that is absurd.
It's absurd.
Like I get corporate sponsorship. You can get some money and all that kind of stuff. But man, like
I'm not getting any money, so I don't have to call it that.
Yeah,
then that check comes my way.
It's hard. Food City Center. So this stretch of games for Missouri finishes up really at home against Texas A&M on Saturday. So basically, the run has been just absolutely absurd. Basically, you left Texas and then came home to play a top 20 Ole Miss team, went on the road to play a top 20 Mississippi State team, go on the road to play a top 10 Tennessee team, and then you come back home to face another top 10 team. Texas A&M, as of today, ranked 10th in the country. So 10th, and you at least get them at home. I think we had pretty much said, like, before this stretch of 4 games started, that if you go through it and you're 2-2, like, you're feeling pretty good. Now that they've won the first 2 games, now's when you get greedy. Obviously, like, you'd want to, beat Tennessee and Thompson Bowling. I think that'd be great. I hate losing to Texas A&M. I do. I want them to beat Texas A&M. If you give me like a choice of one of these 2 games, and I even said this like last week when we were talking about Mississippi State. Like, if you gave me a choice of beating Mississippi State or Tennessee, I'm going to take Mississippi State because I don't like losing to Mississippi State. I at least have a lot of respect for Rick Barnes, the program that he runs. Tennessee cares about basketball. Now, A&M, they're a lot like Mississippi State. And on top of that, they play a style of basketball that is brutal.
It's negative basketball.
I feel like teams like that should be punished by losing. They should not,
often as possible,
not be rewarded for playing that style of basketball. It is hideous to watch. So if Missouri is going to drop one of these 2 games, please win at home against Texas A&M. Keep that home win streak intact. But the way Missouri's playing, if they're able to kind of sustain this, there's no reason why they can't get both.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have this in the look ahead for the game in a couple of days, but if you get to Tennessee and you get out of there with a win, the odds are 91% based on Torvik's model that you're going to finish in the top 4. If you finish the week at 7-3, 4 teams have started conference play that way since the league expanded. All of them won at least 11 games and, finish close to the top 4. So the stakes really are, if you beat Tennessee and you come home and you beat A&M, a lot of things get resolved. I'm locking them into an NCAA tournament bid right there. They can lose the rest of the games and they're in. Like, I mean, 8-10 in this league with the wins that Missouri would have if they beat Tennessee and A&M, you could lock them in even with an 8-10 record. But ostensibly, what this week is about is just doing all you can to basically get separation from everybody else behind you. If you go 1-1, you should feel really great coming out of the week about finishing in the top 4. If you go 8-2, you're basically fighting for a top 3 seed at that point. So to me,
get a win, go 1-1 either way. But if you sweep, that's when the conversation really, really changes. At 8-2, you are probably looking at a top 3 finish in this league. Teams that have done that in the last 10 or 11 years have only one has not earned a protected seed in the NCAA tournament. That was Ole Miss back in 2013 when the league was absolute dog crap.
Yeah.
So if you get to this week at 8-2, you're not talking about, oh, I hope we get the double bye, or oh man, I hope we like get a pretty solid seed in the NCAA tournament. You're playing for protected seeds and for double and have pretty much a double bye locked in. Everything else changes at that point. So those are the stakes. As for A&M, I like beating A&M because I believe Buzz Williams plays negative basketball, and I don't believe that should be rewarded. I believe that creating turnovers and rebounding are important fundamental aspects of the game. They should not be the core component of your program. Like, try to run proactive offense. Your best source of offense should not, and this is not me joking, their best source of offense for the last 2 years has been collecting the shots they miss. Like, imagine running offense to brick a shot because you want to get a rebound and put it back. Like, I guess that's a hack to the system that I should respect, but I don't. I don't. Like, these are some of the numbers about, and I looked this up because I had to confirm my own biases here. This Texas A&M currently ranks 252nd nationally for half-court offensive efficiency. They are 330th for shooting off the catch. This is the one that floors me. They are 312th for rim finishing on initial shots. If they get to the rim, they are one of the 50 worst teams in the country at scoring. Like, think about that. You design offense to get to the rim, and your team is one of the 50 worst in America at scoring.
Uh-huh.
I can't abide that as a philosophical way of playing basketball. Please beat them. Please don't reward that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Buzz Williams is a very nice man. I'm sure the players are very nice human beings. But as a basketball entity, please, God, shoot them into the sun. Please. And that's about the strongest opinion I have about anything in the SEC related to basketball is Texas A&M should lose as many games as possible for the way they choose to play. That's all I'll say about it. And if it weren't for the rebounding that they're capable of, I'd zone the hell out of them because they're 312th against the zone.
Yeah.
Hell, I might zone them anyway because they can't get every rebound. So it's not a very in-depth. It's me ranting, but just knowing that how A&M chooses to play offends me, and I would very much like Missouri to not reward them for that. So there we go. That's my rant for the day. And now I'm going to take a sip because my throat hurts.
So I know that, you know that I agree with you on a lot of that. As a big basketball guy, the things that are thrilling about basketball, like you do want your teams to play hard. You want them to defend hard. You want them to dive on loose balls. A&M does all those things, but you also want your teams to shoot reasonably well, to finish at the rim, to run offense that generates good shots. They don't really do those things.
No.
What they do, what they do, and one of my favorite phrases, what they do, they do it well. I mean, they do. They're 17-5, 6-3 in the league. Again, toughest league in America. We were talking a little bit earlier. This is actually on the forums, and because there hasn't been a lot of buzz or discussion about Texas A&M, and I think it boils down to the fact that they do have some really nice non-conference wins, but since conference play has hit, they've just kind of been okay.
Yeah.
Like they squeaked by South Carolina. They've beaten Oklahoma, who's
They had to do
almost
that late.
yeah, like they beat LSU. They smacked Texas in the opening game, but they had a chance to beat Alabama. They didn't do it. They didn't play very well against Kentucky. Lost that game. And then they were up 22 against Texas again and let Texas come back and beat them. If they hold off Texas, the conversation has probably changed a little bit. But overall, I looked at the statistical data, my favorite, since conference play started, since January 1st, Texas A&M is only playing like the 26th best team in the country. So
they're doing what they do all the time. They're winning games at the margins.
Yeah.
They get
So I think like essentially what you're talking about is a team that if Missouri is able to beat them, that would put them at 6-4, and they still have to play Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. And if they don't win any of those games, like they're basically at the margin of what I thought they would be kind of coming into the season. How you win in the SEC, like you at least. I think for a lot of the teams that are kind of in the middle of the pack is you have to make sure you're beating the teams at the bottom of the conference, and then you pick off a couple games that maybe people didn't expect you to win, and that usually will put you like towards the top of the middle of the pack. And if Missouri can beat Texas A&M, like Missouri essentially will have kind of done those things, like but also they're winning the lower margin games. Turning it down a back stretch, which is going to have a lot more of the lower level teams on their schedule. When you get a reprieve of playing a top 40 team instead of a top 15 team. But essentially, like this is my way of saying that if Missouri is able to beat Texas A&M, I think it sets up like Texas A&M to not really be the 10th ranked team in the country, which they are currently, and to be more of like, what I thought they'd be kind of coming into the season, which is more of a fringe top 25 team. Still quality, and a team that's going to win a lot of games, team that's going to make the NCAA tournament. But I think like of the two games, I think it is much more important for Missouri to preserve home court, beat Texas A&M. Whatever happens in Knoxville happens in Knoxville. But for me, like that's the more important game of the two here.
Yeah, when they turn, they'll make the turn out of this week after 10 games, and then they close with Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Carolina, Vandy, Oklahoma again, and Kentucky. They will only play two teams ranked higher than 25th in KenPom the rest of the way. Their toughest road game after the trip to Tennessee is a trip to Georgia, then a trip to Arkansas. Arkansas is a tough building. They'll be revved up, especially if Arkansas can carry any momentum out of the win in Lexington, and they can get a little bit of a roll going. But then they go to Vandy and to Oklahoma. Like that's really the stretch that sets up well here. If you come out of this at 8-2, let's say you get 2 wins this week, you are favored in 5 of your final 8 games. You are looking at 13-5. If you drop one, 12-6. That's going to finish in the top 4. That's what this week is about. It's about, getting to the point where you can feel like, all right, we go 4-4 down the stretch, and we're still going to, have a double bye in Nashville. You get a double bye in Nashville this year, you're probably going to be in line for no worse than a 5 seed in the big bracket. That's what this week is about. This is their last chance, realistically, outside of Alabama coming to Columbia, for Missouri to get a tippy top win, and they can get 2 of them this week. So we'll see, what they do. But I agree, if they can stay within the margin, Tennessee, keep that to 4 or 5 points, even if it's a loss, and then handle A&M. You make the turn at 7-3. You expect to go 5-3 down the stretch based on what models say, 12-6. It's about positioning yourself for February to be solely focused on improving your seeding in Nashville and improving your seed in the big bracket. That's what you can do this week. You can make February really just about maximizing your postseason path. That's a great spot to be in. I think we talked in the preseason that, our hope was that maybe you were sitting at 5-5, making the turn with a soft stretch. They could, if they go 0-2 this week, they're only one game ahead of that, but they've already flipped 2 conference games. If they beat Tennessee, that's a third they flipped. They're ahead of where we thought they were. They've given themselves some wiggle room. Now it's about maximizing the potential they've shown and how they've played over the last month. So carry it forward and set us up for a really, really fun March. That's what we'd like to see.
Yeah. I think that's the fact that that's where we're at is sort of remarkable, considering like what this program has been through over the years. And it's been a long time, Matt, since we've had not just an NCAA tournament team, but a really compelling basketball team, and a team that is playing as well as Missouri is. I hope it continues. They're a lot of fun to watch when the shots are going in. They're defending and rebounding. I've dreamt about days like this, Matt.
Then just, what did we say? All we want was do boring shit. Defend and rebound. Our kingdom for great first shot defense and closing out possessions. We ask for so little. We ask for so little from the basketball gods, aside from great first shot defense and reliable rebounding. We're not asking for the world. Just the most basic necessities. And by God, we're getting them. And it's marvelous.
So I think that's going to wrap us up. You need to rest your voice. And I want to go see what's going on in this Kansas Iowa State game. But heck of a month, man. It's been a heck of a month of basketball, and we got. I really like, even as the schedule lightens after this week, like, it's still tough as hell, and like just so much potential for more really great and compelling matchups. The SEC is fantastic. I'm so thrilled that the league is this good this year. I love getting excited to just even watch games where Missouri is not involved. Like, I love that I get excited to watch the SEC. This has been a fun year. I really hope that Missouri got to keep this train rolling. Caleb Grill goes for 38, bombs Tennessee out of Knoxville. Tamar Bates goes for 28 and annihilates Texas A&M. We hit the turn at 8-2, feeling pretty good. What do you say to that?
Branford Shelley should be worried we're coming for the Big 12, baby. The rain is over.
Thanks, Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back next week. Hopefully, Matt's voice is fully recovered. He's feeling up to snuff. Hopefully, Missouri is 8-2. And yeah, we'll see you in a week. Talk to you on the forums, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.